if you're a beginner drawer but an adult, then don't be taken in by overly simplistic hatching videos that put very simple hatching on very simple geometric shapes, cubes, rectangles, spheres, cones, that are all about shading for shadow and for shade. Rather, learn hatching in the context of real life, because those oversimplified videos don't tell you what they don't know and can leave you feeling discouraged because you feel like you should now know how to hatch, and yet when you see a subject, you've no idea really how to apply that. If we learn to hatch with real life rather than artificially contrived subjects, we learn so much more, not just about hatching, but about the subjects that we're drawing. And trees, often a very difficult subject for beginners, actually become incredibly easy if we learn to hatch at the same time as learning to draw trees. So this was a 20-minute drawing, so you're watching it at 1.5 times its actual drawing speed, and you can see I'm using a 0.2 uni pen. So what I'm doing at this point is I'm drawing the tree not by drawing outlines, which is usually a very oversimplified way of drawing, related more to cartoons and children's storybooks, that very seldom serves us well when we draw as adults. Rather, I'm using negative space and using hatching to draw the negative space. Now, negative space is simply a term to describe the space between things, which in this case is the space between the parts of foliage that are in sunlight and the parts that are in shade. So rather than doing an outline for the, if you like, lit up leaves, I'm doing hatching marks for the shadow, for the areas in between. Still foliage, but in darkness. And it's easier to hatch those in a way, and I don't have to have a hard straight edge, an outline that's going to look unhelpful at the end of the drawing. That will make my tree look unnatural, cartoon-like. And so you'll notice I haven't started with the way a beginner might be tempted to start drawing a tree, which is a continuous line around the silhouette edge. In fact, I haven't got to the silhouette edge at all. And one thing I try and do throughout this drawing, when I'm doing the negative space parts, I try and put my finger on the reference in the part of the tree that I'm drawing. It's very easy to lose track when we're drawing. It would be even easier, I think, watching the video to be sure what's what. So my finger should tell you what part of the tree I'm looking at, which I hope helps you make sense of the marks. The other thing we need to do when we draw a tree, and this affects the hatching, which is why it's important, we use hatching to create different effects. And the effects we want to create depend on the actual subject. There's no one rule fits all. But we need to realize that photos make round three-dimensional objects look very flat. So in looking at this tree, I need to realize that where my finger is now in the center, that part of the tree is actually closer to us than any of the rest of the foliage, with the possible exception of the little bit of foliage in the sunlight underneath. But it's that kind of center area which is coming towards us, and we lose the sense of coming towards us in a photo. And what we see at the silhouette edge is actually further away. And in life, that feels obvious because we're looking with two eyes. We have stereoscopic vision, but the camera is like one lens, and it makes everything look the same. So when I draw, I want to create a lighter, fainter field for the further away parts of the tree, which is really the parts around the edges, particularly up the top, which is further away also because it's higher. So I want to focus what I'm doing on the center to start, where I'm likely to get heavier marks because I'm going a bit slower because I'm still working things out. As I start to move further away, I've also started to warm up a little bit, and that helps me to go faster. Now you'll see I've just done a line around some of the foliage. That's the foliage that I'm consciously thinking of as closer and that I want to get like a sharper effect. So now I start to create a bit of an edge for the tops of those clumps of foliage that are in sunlight. And I'm trying to put some marks to give the same effect as the sort of silhouette we can see without actually trying to draw leaves. Once I start drawing a leaf, when I draw trees, where do I stop? And suddenly I've got thousands of leaves And for all my effort to be exact, my tree looks less real for trying to draw more of it. What I'm doing with the hatching and with the marks I'm looking for, I'm experimenting with, is to create the look, the effect, the appearance of all the leaves. I'm trying to capture the detail, the feel of the detail without drawing the detail. And notice that for the trunks, I've done my hatching in the other direction. I've done my hatching horizontally. I feel that helps reflect the cylindrical roundness of the branches, but also it simply makes them very clearly distinct from the leaf hatching, the foliage hatching, which becomes more important when they join up. It doesn't matter so much if we've got sky behind the branches, but where we have foliage behind the branches, they would disappear completely if not. Notice that sometimes I do my hatching from the, if you like, the top edge of the clumps upwards rather than downwards, and that lets me control where the pen starts and therefore where I don't put ink on the paper. Of course, because drawing directly with a pen, this isn't being drawn with a pencil under drawing. Drawing directly with a pen, no marks can be taken away, can be erased at any stage. So every mark I put on, I need to be conscious of building up an effect across the whole drawing while I draw. We don't draw by drawing a part and completing it and then moving across the photo. We're not trying to copy the photo. We can't copy the photo. I have a pen. It's a 3-color, 4-color pixel printed image. I can't copy that with a black fine liner. I'm trying to say the same thing in a different language. I'm translating one visual language into another. And I think as an adult, this is a very helpful way of understanding the drawing process, regardless of what we're drawing or what techniques we're using. Can I say what I'm talking about in terms of using hatching and edges and outlines and things applies to everything we draw. But I think it's easier to see it with trees. Now you can see now that I'm starting to make some areas with my hatching a bit darker than others. But I'm not going to go for the final effect of that until the end. And that's when I'm going to tweak the areas that will most create, and by tweak I simply mean make darker because I can't make them lighter, I can't take the ink away, but I'm going to tweak the areas that I think will make the tree feel more three-dimensional at that point. So this is the process that I'm using. This is the way of thinking. This is my understanding of what drawing is being applied to a tree. Hatching is not difficult. It's not difficult to learn hatching. Hatching is lots of little lines close together to create a certain degree of darkness. And sometimes we'll layer close together lines at angles over the top of each other to create darker areas with a different visual appearance more quickly, more easily, or simply to create different effects. And it's not hard to create hatching. The challenge is to know how to use it for the subject that I'm drawing. And this is why those videos, learning hatching with cubes and spheres, I think are so unhelpful, because they leave us thinking that we've learned what we need to know, because they don't tell us this is an oversimplification. And then when we don't know how to apply the hatching, we think it's because somehow hatching is difficult. We don't realize it's the inadequacy of, in a way, what we've trusted to teach us what we need to do. Just because we're beginners at learning to draw, just because our actual drawing experience is limited, doesn't mean our ability to understand is limited. We need to learn the techniques that will carry our drawing experience through as we get older. And as our experience grows, I need to find techniques at the very start that can develop and perhaps be used in a more sophisticated way, but are fundamentally the same techniques as I become more experienced. And that lets me just continue to roll on with more and more challenging drawings. But despite the fact that this tree is probably looking way more complex than a tree would, a beginner's drawing tree would look in most videos, when you look at what I'm doing, it's just mark by mark, little bit of hatching by little bit of hatching. You see how I've used dotted lines to just guide me with the edge, and I did that carefully, referencing the photo. But imagine if I'd done a heavy, solid outline, as many would do at the start of drawing a tree. And I might have had little wiggle waggles as I moved around in and out to represent individual leaves, or it would look like it was individual leaves, although in fact they would be way too big for individual leaves. Imagine the impact that would have on how this tree looks. Instead, I'm trying to create the sense that this outer edge is a bit further away. It feels further away than the parts that I've drawn with more strength, because they're closer so we can see them better. There's darker lines, there's more deliberate marks on the paper rather than little flicking marks and just dots. There's more little curls and things. I don't think of drawing as being achieved by lines. I think of we draw through marks, and lines is simply one of the options of marks that we have. You see what I'm doing now? I'm strengthening the darkness above the top of some of the foliage canopies there, because that's the place where the shadows are darkest, because at that point we're looking further back into the canopy that's behind. And so it's always trying to capture the effect of reality to some degree in my drawing. The other thing I need to remember is to be paying attention to the light source. A tree, always ask, is there a clear direction that the light is coming from? And if we look at the shadow on the ground, that confirms what I think is pretty obvious anyway, that the light's coming down from the upper right corner. Now that means that generally there'll be more shade and shadow on the lower left, on the opposite side. But it doesn't necessarily mean the shade and shadow is darker, because the stronger sunlight that's in the lit areas creates the effect of darkness more. And so I want to capture that in my drawing. And you can see that all of my shaded areas aren't the same value. They're not the same amount of darkness. But also notice I'm actually trying to get quite a wide range, create quite a subtlety of dark greys from my hatching. Because when I look at the canopy, it's not just the difference between the dark bits of the foliage that is set back and the bits in the sun. Some of those clumps of foliage, they start to curve in directions that they start to come into shade, but they're not casting shadows, and the shade isn't very strong. And I want to get, it's not black or white. I want to get a sense, if you like, of the greys, of the parts of these little three-dimensional clumps of leaves that have curvature away from me that affects the way the light hits them, especially down the bottom. And this can especially be the case on the non-light section, which in this case is the lower left. And so now you can see how the fact that I'm doing the hatching for the branch there, the trunk, I guess it is, horizontally, even though it's into a dark area of foliage, we can still see it clearly, that we have clarity that gives us meaning. Now, I'm going to do this shrub that's growing up around the base of the tree because I think it's a nice little contrast. I'm going to do it with a, if you like, a looser, rougher style, because I want the star of the show to be the tree. And if I draw it with too much detail, with the same detail and the same intention as I have the tree, then it might visually be too prominent. So Fast and Furious, and I'm going to just do a little bit in the background on the lower left there as well, just give a bit of framing for the tree. So although this tree now is probably looking harder than most beginner trees, this is the technique that will lead you all throughout your drawing of trees life if you want. And it's a technique that can be applied for hatching for any subject at all. I have a video on 10 ways I use hatching, and not a single one of them can't be used by a beginner. And shade and shadow is just one thing we can use hatching for when we draw. So I'll post that as a link in the end screen. And I really suggest, if you're a beginner and you've been perhaps a bit left high and dry by the hatching videos you've watched, you still don't know how to apply them, this video will completely demystify the subject, because how we use hatching depends on what effects we want to create in our drawing. If we know the effects that we could create and then want to create, how we hatch becomes obvious. So these are the 10 ways I could think of anyway. If you think of any more ways you can use hatching, please leave a comment on one of my videos for me. G'day, I'm Stephen Travers. I hope you found this helpful. Don't be intimidated. Give it a go. I'll post this photo reference on my channel post page and you can screenshot it and print off a copy and have a go drawing this tree. Don't watch me while you draw yours, but compare afterwards and see what you can learn. But whatever you draw, hatching or no hatching, and however it turns out, make sure you have fun. I'll see you next time. Bye.